Hey YouTubers, Rob Muffet. Guys, you're probably watching this video because you have a noise in your ceiling fan. I do too. I thought I'd go over the different noises that your ceiling fan makes, starting with the one that mine has. It's a buzzing noise. Basically, you've got 5 different noises your fans make. You get a whirring noise, a clicking noise, a scraping and grinding noise, a buzzing noise, or a humming noise. And we're going to go over all 5 of those. I can't duplicate all 5 of those, but I'll show you the one that's mine is making today, which is a buzzing noise on low speed and medium speed, and it stops immediately right when you turn off the power. Now it's on high. Now on high, you're going to hear a whirring noise. That's just the fan going through the air. But sometimes you hear a whirring noise on low speed because parts of the fan are out of balance. But let's turn on medium now. You hear that buzzing noise? That's on medium. It wasn't on high. Now put on low. It's rotational, but check it out. As soon as we turn off the power, the noise stops immediately. That shows you it's not mechanical, it's electrical. It's probably going to be the capacitor. Now, sometimes when you get that noise, and if you still hear the noise when you turn off the power, what is usually the case is the little screws that attach the blade to the flange. This is the flange, and this is your blade, and this is your motor. The flange attaches to your blade. There's 3 screws here. Sometimes you need to add little washers. Most of the fans come with washers, but some of them don't. But you can add them and it'll reduce that buzzing noise you just heard if it's not your capacitor. And like I said, when you turn off the power and the noise goes away immediately, it's usually going to be your capacitor. So if it's rotational and the power turns off and the noise goes away, it was probably related to the power. Now, that is one of the buzzing noises you get. Sometimes you'll get a buzzing noise on high speed, but the same thing will happen if you turn off the power and it goes away. It's going to be the capacitor. So that's an easy way to find out what the buzzing problem is coming from. Now, the other noises, we'll go over them. Like I said at the very beginning, some people complain about a whirring noise. That is confusing because whirring noises mean different things to different people, but often the whirring noise is the fan on high going through the air. But you could also have the blades come slightly out of balance. Maybe they were bent. Now, if one blade is heavier than the other, you can get little balance kits from the stores like Home Depot, and then just add little weights to the balance, just like you put weights on your tires to keep them from wobbling. That happens a lot, and you'll hear like a little whirring noise. Now, the most common noise is going to be like a clicking noise. That's because something is loose. And there's surprisingly a lot of things to be loose on your fan. Now, this is your sconce. This is where your lights go. You have screws here that attach the sconce to the motor. Now, you also have screws that attach the blade to the flange. They can be loose. In fact, a couple of these, they are loose. Now, also you have the flanges attached to the motor. They could be loose there. A couple of my blades have a loose flange. And then inside the motor, you have a set screw. That could be loose. Then you have a down rod. That could be loose. Then you have a set screw that goes into the ball, and then where the ball attaches to the junction box, and where the junction box attaches to the part of your ceiling. So those are different areas where you could have loose attachments. So also you could be unlucky and just have some wires that got loose and they're rubbing against something inside. But basically, if you're hearing a clicking noise, it's because something is loose. Also, sometimes you have a chain that's long and it'll intermittently make noises. You can just shorten it, but that usually will quiet down when you tighten everything up and make sure everything is level. But sometimes these fans, they are getting accidents and they get bent and they get out of true. And it's important, just like on your car tires, they have to be balanced. This is, even though it's not going the speed of your car tire. So that's what causes clicking noises, are different things that are loose. And I told you where the different things are. Now, you also get a scraping or a grinding noise. The scraping or grinding noise is usually the bearings in your motor. Now, on some fans, they have a port that the manufacturer has to allow you to put periodically oil into your port. You want to use whatever the manufacturer recommends, but it's usually a 10 weight or below oil. Don't use the 3-in-1 oil, the one that is not used for motors. Although 3-in-1 does make one that you can use on electrical motors. Most people don't have that. They just have the old-fashioned 3-in-1. Don't use WD-40. I'll leave a link to an oil I like. It's a turbine oil. It comes with a very long spout. It's easy to get into places, and it's rather inexpensive. But you can also use any oil that the manufacturer recommends, and usually be safe by using oil that's 10 weight or below. I've seen some people just use automobile oil that was like 10 weight or below. But don't use WD-40, although I've been guilty of that in the past. It's just a habit. Like I said, the scraping noise, the grinding noise, it's usually the motor. Now, if you are unlucky and you have bearings that are scraping and grinding and you have a sealed motor, that's more difficult. You usually have to just replace the fan. But sometimes you can, if you have a lot of time on your hand, you can take those sealed motors apart. They have a felt pad inside and you can add more oil. I've seen where some people, I don't recommend it, but some people I've seen where they'll drill a hole into the motor and then add oil and seal it up. I've seen them do that on like refrigerator condenser fans that are sealed instead of just taking them apart. But they're usually, it's less time consuming in the long run, maybe less money just to buy another fan motor or a fan. But if it's something you really have to do, I've seen people repair the sealed motors by adding oil, but you get a little bit more life out of them. But usually the motor is usually not a problem, so long as they've been maintained. Now, I've also seen people on sealed motors by just taking this part of the fan, taking it down after you turn off the power, and just adding oil around the inside, and it leaks inside a little bit. At the same time, you want to use the really lightweight oil. If you can't find 10 weight oil, you could maybe use mineral oil, which is basically baby oil, but I don't recommend it. I recommend like the turbine oil, or the one that the manufacturer sells that's specifically used for the electrical motor. Sometimes they have like Teflon and other things added into it. So that covers the scraping and grinding noise. It's going to usually be your bearings, and they have to be lubricated. There's a lot of good videos on YouTube about lubricating your motors. Now, the other two noises we've got left are the buzzing, which we covered partly, and the humming. The buzzing, like I said, if you turn off the power and it goes away, it's usually your capacitor. If it continues with the power off, you could try dampening the vibrations that might be on your blades by adding little washers underneath the screws. They're difficult to find. I'll leave a link to some I found from a fan manufacturer that might fit your fan. You could probably use little plumbing washers too, or maybe even just make them. The last noise is the one you don't want, is like your motor isn't turning and you just hear a humming noise. That means it's locked up. You could try adding some lubrication and spinning it by hand, and you might be able to get it started. But if it's just humming and then it's not moving at all, it's the motor seized up. But these motors, especially the old-fashioned ones, are extremely well built, very durable. They'll take a lot of abuse. If you just give them some oil, you might give them a new life. And especially some of the older, well-built ones, it's worth taking apart and repairing, even replacing the bearings instead of just buying a new one, because they're really well made, some of the old ones. So those are the 5 noises: the whirring noises, the clicking noises, the humming, and the buzzing, and the scraping and the grinding. And they're either mechanical or electrical. To repair these, you basically just need a screwdriver and an offset screwdriver and somebody to help you hold it up in the air, and some little electrician snips to cut the wires and splice them and so on. They're rather easy to work on, so long as you have the power off. I can't think of much else. You guys, I hope this was something helpful to you. I put on new videos every week. Been doing it for 13 years, got over 800 videos, a bunch of playlists. And like I said, I put on new stuff every week. All right, guys, hope this was helpful to you. And I'll try to answer any questions you have and any comments. And if anybody else has comments or helpful suggestions, feel free to leave them too. All right, guys, I'm rambling here. Take care and and see you out there.